If Robert were with us right now, he would cue some awesome music and it would start playing because it's March 12th, 2014, and we are kicking the tires and lighting the fires for the Media Communications BS Hour. Welcome, everybody. It's very exciting to be coming to you from around the world. When I say around the world, I mean around the world, but mostly in Orange and Seminole County. So keep that in mind. We have a great day today. There's definitely going to be some media communications going on. There's definitely going to be some Bachelor of Science going on. But at the same time, I don't want you to get all hung up on that hour part. It could very easily only take 30 minutes to talk about our amazing content today. Or an hour and 30. We never know until it's all over. And we are going to start this amazing week with media in the news right out of the gate. Oh my gosh, that is just one heck of a graphic, I gotta tell you. This week's media in the news, something we've been talking about around the office a lot, is this astounding move by Barack Obama. Now, as usual, folks, we do not really get into the politics of the situation, whether you are pro-healthcare or anti-humanity. That's entirely up to you. I don't want to make any kind of influences on what people think or say or do as far as politics go. But let's just take a look at this bold move that Barack took when he went on Zach's show. Are you guys familiar with Between Two Ferns? Is that something that you guys have seen before? And Pete, please moderate those live students. I know you've got quite a gaggle of them with you, and we'd love to hear from them if they're willing.
Yeah, actually, Clayson just agreed. He said yes to that.
All right. Well, then Clayson and anybody else who might have seen Between Two Ferns before knows it is a very off-the-cuff, very snarky little segment that was put together by this star from the Hangover series. And there's a lot of self-deprecating humor that goes into this, and there's a lot of disregard for the guest on this little show. And so to see President Barack Obama show up and join Zach for this webisode, for a series that's made on the web, and right now you can watch by going to Funny or Die, there's just a lot to be said about why he made this bold move, something we haven't seen a president do before. Presidential terms are 4 years long. He's been here for about 6.5 now, and the entire face of how you reach an audience has changed, the entire method by which you do that. So I want to open up the floor to the world. That's all of you that are here listening with us right now. And I'd love to hear what you think about Barack using this platform to reach his intended audience. First off, who can tell us, that has seen this hopefully, who his intended audience is and why?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the younger people. It's on the web. It's not something you watch every day on a daily basis. But when it happens, it usually gets on Reddit pretty fast. That's where I saw it, and it was pretty funny. But I mean, at the end, of course, you can tell that the answers were staged and all that. But it was a good time.
That was John from GDC.
All right. And I definitely agree with what was said there. He was reaching out to a young audience, and that is precisely the demographic that he's trying to reach for his healthcare initiative. Young people have until March 31st to be able to sign up for his affordable care from the Affordable Care Act. So there's an urgency here. Time is running out, and for crying out loud, he's doing exactly what we've seen giant companies do and exciting movie franchises do, or TV shows like Game of Thrones. He's singled out his audience. He's singled out the demographic that he's supposed to reach. I'm sure there was some media analysis involved in that. They then devised a plan, the avenues they would take to reach that audience. My goodness, Between Two Ferns? But that's exactly the audience of Between Two Ferns. people who don't yet have health insurance, who are over the age of, I think, 24 or 26, and so they're no longer on their parents' health care, and they need to sign up. So this is exactly the avenue. This is precisely what you do. We had a media analysis, a strategy, and then they executed it, because here he is. And I agree with John, too. Definitely some staged answers. And thankfully, they had that little bit at the end where they removed the black curtain and well, I don't want to give it away, but there's a fourth wall that was broken. They let the audience in on some of the jokes to some extent. Did any of the other faculty get a chance to watch this or see it yet? I know Robert and I were having a lively discussion about it, but he's being a movie star right now.
Jason, it's Pete. I didn't see it, but it strikes me that the avenues of connection have obviously changed, and so there's these more sort of viral things that are out there, or things where you can look at the media, look at the data, and find out which audience I can impact the most. And it reminds me of the days when presidential candidates wanted to impact a younger audience, and immediately, this is the day before the web, the place they went to was Saturday Night Live.
Right.
To appear a certain way. And that's what this reminds me of. It's just sort of, to me, it's like the new Saturday Night Live. It's you find these avenues on the web, or these shows where you can connect immediately with that particular audience, and then obviously it'd be foolish to not head there. So to me, this is like a typical of that. We've always been looking in media for where do I connect with with my audience the quickest. I'm looking at what Shannon and Lisa are typing in here. Yeah, you can remember when, and candidates that in a sense needed to be propped up a little bit or seem like they could connect with the younger audience, they immediately headed to SNL. So this sort of just reminds me of that.
What a great point. Jesse Jackson jumps out quickly to mind. His SNL bit is one that I'm not even going to begin to reference here directly, but if you've got the time and the YouTube search skills, I'd go locate that and watch it. But even you made me remember Richard Nixon. I hadn't even thought about him when he did his bit on what was the name of the show? Was it called Sock It To Me? Laughin'.
Yeah, in the 60s, late 60s, yeah.
And so here he is, connecting with, in that case, probably more the common man, and eventually reaching those specific demographics on SNL with the younger voters. Very cool.
And Nixon's popularity at that point, I remember that time I was around, and it spiked up high. I mean, I remember people talking about, oh my gosh, he was on, Laugh-In. That was so cool, Goldie Hawn and everybody that was on there. And it's amazing. So this is sort of, just reminded me of that same thing, and it's great that you brought that one up too.
Very cool. I don't want to go on and leave anybody out. Was there anything in the chat, or Isabel or Renee or anybody? Because if not, we got something on deck.
Go for it. I did not get a chance to watch it myself yet.
Off we go. Oh, and by the way, go check it out. It is a genuinely funny and worth the short amount of time that it's on. The only problem is, and I'll warn you now, another video auto plays afterwards, and then you're lost in a 4-hour pit of Funny or Die, and you never come out. So leave a trail of breadcrumbs to be able to lead yourself away from that if you have to. But it brings us to some exciting news about Getty Images. Did you guys hear about this? It's pretty exciting. Images have always been a tricky item to use, and the news is great, and it sounds better than maybe it actually is because it comes with some asterisks. But the news is that Getty Images is making its images available for people to use without getting copyright compliance, without having to ask permission, and without having to go to a huge amount of effort.
That's Pete clapping.
You would think, though, if that was exactly, I know, right? If that was what it was, if it was as easy and as fun as we all want it to be, where you just Google an image and use whatever you want, That's unfortunately not exactly what's meant. The asterisks, they're not bad. It's just it's like a stepping stone. We're halfway there, people. We're halfway to totally free content available for anybody to create with. In this scenario, you know what? Shannon, did you want to talk about this? Because that would be way better than me running my mouth, because I only skimmed.
Aha, there we are. The 5-step unmuting process. Yes, they are letting you use the images, but of course it's not 100% free of obligation on your part. When you do use their image, it has a link automatically in there. I think it's going to be in a small icon form that links the image directly back to its original source. So while you do get to use it, you don't get to use it without citing the source that it came from, or without them being able to gather the data on where the images are being used as well. So that's going to be a two-way street. Not only will it'll be nice that it will be cited for you, but you have to understand as well, you will also be giving data back to Getty's for them to use. So again, a two-way street.
So we can embed the images. We could use them in our blog, for instance, if we want to use a visual reference for something that we can find on Getty Images. But when we embed it, that's giving Getty Images access to who views our blog, how it's used, and things like that?
Exactly that. And Emily said it's provided in an embedded code that will come with the image. I believe that's right, Emily. You don't have to get the code and put it on there. It's there. I mean, if you're going to use the image, the code is there. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. What I was just saying was that the image itself is provided as an embed code form. It's not like they're giving you a JPEG file or anything that you upload and post on your blog or on your website. And so within that embed code is the actual link that is the track back to Getty Images that allows them to retrieve all of that that data that you're talking about. If you think about it in this way, like all the images are all still stored and housed, and all the analytics are all still kind of under the rights of Getty Images, but what they're providing you is this little tiny window, and this little window of this picture is what you're placing on your site. So it's almost like a portal. It's a portal for you or your visitors to view their image on your site.
So the only concern that I have about that is if they decide not to offer that image anymore, you might have like an empty space on your, WordPress site or something like that. And that's the only concern that I have here. But it's like Jason said, it's a great move towards, we being able to access all of that good, images and these types of contents for our websites. But just remember that you might not have that image. You don't have full control of having that image in your blog or WordPress and so forth. But and I'm always
correct.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Emily. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay. I just wanted to follow up on what you were saying about that too. Is that I'm looking at some of the common things that I'm reading in the chat area, and as far as my understanding of this goes, to answer a specific question by Donovan, that no, they're not downloadable for you. So it's not something that you're going to download from their site and then use however you want and remake it and repurpose it. It's not Creative Commons licensed, giving you that sort of ability to remix it. It is definitely their image, and they are providing you with the citation that they want you to use in that embed code. It wouldn't be something that they're providing, say, like high resolution images that you can download and use in printed materials either.
Yep, exactly right. I'm always a promoter of using your own images and creating your own gallery, and I think I have talked to some of you about that, using Flickr, Picasa, and just creating your own images. I personally don't like to depend on third parties for my images. I want to have control of my content. So, and there are ways that you can do that as well. Create your own gallery, either by, using gallery open sources or Flickr, Picasa, SmugMug, which is like storage places. There's a lot of stuff to it, but it is a good step towards something better. It always starts like this. So let's cross our fingers and hope that they can make money, because that's their goal, and we can get some good images.
Isabel and Emily or Shannon, Martin also had asked the question, do you still need to have the source and copyright figured out? Since it's an embed, are you saying that that is all just included when the image appears in your blog then?
That is correct. You will see an image, but then immediately below that image you will see the photographer credit or the owner credit and a link back to where you can actually purchase that image for use in a larger application.
Okay. It is kind of a solution then, at least, it's much simpler for the student, and at least for something quick, if they need to hurry up and do an assignment, this seems like a nice, kind of streamlined solution.
And it really only works in a situation where they've got a blog or a website where they're able to use embed code. If students picture the courses that they go through in FSO, the instructors have things embedded in the course. You're able to see a YouTube video, or you're able to see a Google page, because there's a window in FSO that takes you to that website, like Emily was describing. And with this Getty image, that window includes not only the picture, but the citation at the bottom. But also, if I could add to what Isabel's concerns were, you don't have any control over that content. You don't have any control over that window, which means it's however long it's going to be before Getty Images lays a Burger King ad across the bottom, or a Hyundai ad, because there's no reason they can't. It's their window, and they can put what they want in it. Once you've opened it, it's theirs to fill.
Absolutely. And it's a good step on the part of Getty Images, because if we remember the personality of the internet, it allows others to just, take those photos. You can do a screen capture if you don't really want a high quality photograph or image. You can take a screen capture. I mean, people know how to take those images and use them if they really want to. So Getty said, okay, guys, instead of you just, ripping them, we are going to give you an option here, which, for most of the people, it works, because especially for academic work, sometimes you really need that image, but, you can't afford it. So I think it's a good move, even though I have my concerns here. It is a good move on the part of Getty Images.
Jason, I was just going to say that the value of this is big. Back in the 9/11 time, I did as you know, I did this presentation at this 9/11 memorial, and Getty and I think it was Time Life, one of them donated, they gave me a temporary password, and I actually got into their entire library of 9/11 photos. And they just said, whatever you need for this presentation, feel free to take it and use it, and so on and so forth. Someone I knew that worked at Time Life gave me, got that to happen. But when I asked him, how much would this normally cost to do? He said, you just don't want to know, because corporations pay for this access. And so, I kind of echo what Isabel is saying. It's quite a move to at least make this available to academic, that's big. So anyway, I just throw that in.
Super cool. Well, keep an eye on Getty Images. If they took the first step, they may also be taking the second step. I guess by that same token, keep an eye on Flickr and Imager and everybody else's favorite image hosting site, and we'll see which one of those takes the next step and follows the example that Getty has started. But on to, I'm not sure I even remember. I'll push the space bar and find out with you. Oh yeah, Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is like a cornerstone. When we go tell the story of MCBS and how media has changed and a new way to engage an audience and build a community, Game of Thrones is one of those franchises that we hold up on our shoulders and say, this is what we do. And it is, because they don't stop with the innovation. We spend a lot of time talking to other people, but not so much time on the radio show talking about this. So I'll just briefly say that Game of Thrones, when they first launched, are one of their more... Hey, that Five Senses, was that when Game of Thrones first hit? Or that wasn't second season, that was first season, right?
I think it was first season, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When the books first transitioned from a book story to a HBO version of a TV story, they marketed that transition and that new show on HBO using a spectacular transmedia and trans-sense campaign. They addressed all five senses of their audience and used those senses to engage them even deeper in a story that they thought they loved, but the marketing campaign made them truly, truly love it. For instance, they sent out the smells of Westeros to certain groups of people that could then talk about them and blog about them. They had food trucks that addressed the tastes of Westeros, so you could go eat the food that was described in the books. It was a very cutting-edge campaign, and it was done by a group called Campfire. And unfortunately, because I don't have a second screen allowing me to Google, so I sound like I know what I'm talking about, I'm not sure if Campfire was part of the new Game of Thrones marketing campaign. But I know that Lisa read this article carefully. Lisa, do you know if this Oculus Rift move has anything to do with Campfire, or is that something else altogether?
I actually looked out for their brand name. I didn't see it mentioned, so I don't think this is directly related to Campfire. So it was developed by a different group.
Could you tell us more about this Oculus Rift device itself and a little bit about how Game of Thrones is using it?
The Oculus Rift is kind of the latest incarnation of the immersive virtual reality that's kind of been around for a while, but has never really reached its full potential. But it basically, you wear the headset, and as you turn your head, as you look around, what you're seeing moves with you. And from what I read in this article, they had kind of what you don't get, of course, is the sense of touch and feel that you would experience in real life. So it's not quite the Matrix, but they kind of created a setup kind of that you would go into that mimicked what you're seeing. So there's like the cage thing they ride up an elevator on the ice wall in Westeros, and they kind of simulated that setup so you could actually feel the bars and the floor beneath you and that sort of thing. So as you were looking around, that's what you saw. Of course, it's not. They say that it's graphically it's about parallel to what you would see in like a first-person shooter game. So it's not quite realistic, like photorealistic. You're not going to be fooled into thinking you're in the Matrix yet, but it's still pretty impressive and pretty immersive. And so I believe they've only recreated the ice wall was the main experience, from what I recall. But it kind of gives you that feeling of being there and seeing what those people would feel and see.
Which I suppose is their number one goal. They sit around thinking, how do we give the audience more opportunities to feel like they're part of this universe we created, and that's a fascinating challenge to take fiction and turn it into reality. And I like how you kept mentioning the Matrix, which is, I guess, the perfect example of how you make a story truly immersive. So I'm not sure how far off we are from achieving Matrix-style transmedia storytelling, but that would be pretty impressive.
Well, I don't think it's, in some senses, it's probably not too far off. If our graphics keep improving, the trick will be capturing the tactile experiencing of it, but there's ways around that too. From a transmedia standpoint, this was tough to get to a widespread market like we had with the campfire situation, where they could mail out these boxes or have people show up for the food trucks, or I guess they actually go to a website. That's more of a mass market. With like I was describing, that stage they had set up, it's very location dependent. So this was actually an exhibit they had at South by Southwest this year. So, but I wonder if they're going to take it on tour in any way. Because that would be the way to get this out to a mass market until that technology becomes kind of a household item.
Maybe they could do what they did with the food trucks and hit those high-density markets like L.A. and New York with that. Maybe even a truck full.
Even visiting the cons, like the Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Situations. That would be there. But of course, that's targeting an audience that's already in their pocket.
Yeah, that's true, but it also gets those people all fired up. When they leave MegaCon after having experienced that, they're going to go just not shut up about it.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Jason, if there could be a way that they could, if they could send up one of those copters that you're making, and quadcopter, yeah, thanks, John, quadcopter, and where was it, Clayson? Yeah, I can't hear where the voices are coming from. But go ahead and send one of those visor things to me, to my house. I will gladly try one of these for Oculus if they're listening.
Oh, they are. I guarantee it.
And I'm sure they have a shortage of people willing to try it out.
Yes.
Jason, to go back to your question, this was actually created by a company called Framestore. That's a visual effects company. And they were actually behind the movie Gravity, which you might have heard of.
I think
so. And it was developed, that they did the visual effects, and it was developed by a marketing agency called Relevant. Which is relevant to our conversation.
Absolutely. Relevant's the marketing company, and then what was the name of the digital creator?
Framestore.
Right, Framestore of Gravity fame.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow. I'm also just impressed, before we roll on out of here, with how many different organizations can be involved on the same project. You're just bringing in just more elements than I could imagine to this one story, to bring it to life, which is really intense. So intense that we all had to sit and think about it for a minute.
Let's ponder this for a moment. Yeah, it's true. And I think it's, especially with a project like this, they might bring on this marketing company, but odds of a marketing company having the kind of expertise and resources to create that kind of technology is unlikely. So it would make sense for them to look to a third party to bring that.
I kind of agree with Isabel a little bit too there, where, I remember when I first saw the Star Wars, when the first one actually came out, again, dating myself here, but I remember the hologram scenes when they were playing that board game with the hologram figures.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of waiting for that to happen first, and we're sort of in the virtual reality thing, so I'm kind of looking forward to the hologram thing actually happening. So if Oculus is out there listening again, if you could do some hologram stuff, that would be great.
Pete, I promise you they're listening. I'm going to tag this on YouTube with hashtag Oculus Rift, and they'll be all over it.
Yeah, let the Wookiee win.
Good advice. Very good advice. Well, that takes us away from media in the news. There's a lot of news out there, but we're a tiny little hour-long program, so we can't get to all of it at one time. But it takes us to an adaptation of a famous segment. So you might recognize it, but it's not exactly the same. Welcome to I Can't Believe This Is Someone's Portfolio Project.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm excited to see this in the future grow a little bit more, so we can take actual portfolio projects that have been turned in by students. We could pick some that have been turned in already and show them off as shining examples of what students in the MCBS program can put in their portfolio that they're going to take with them when they leave the program. You know, when they're weeping with Kleenex because they're so sad to leave us, and you can tell what's coming. But in today's segment, we're going to talk about what students could do, because I'd received an email and some students wanted more clarification on how they could submit segments to the MCBS Hour radio show. And you might want to think about how we're asking students to submit videos for a radio show, but that's just part of the confusing world we live in today. So I can't really get too far into that. But I can say, oh, darn it, that's not Kathy's Corner. That's supposed to be, I can't believe this is someone's. All right, pardon the edit, but now in Kathy's Corner, let me tell you, students, how you can submit a segment to the MCBS Hour radio show. First, choose a segment. You could choose Kathy's Corner, or I Can't Believe This Is Someone's Job, or Tool Time, or hashtag Be Social Media Savvy, or most likely, I would expect most people out of the gate to choose a Media in the News segment. So, step 1, choose a segment. Step 2, write a story for that segment. I highly recommend actually doing that part, the writing it. Write it out, like an assignment. Then, number 3, record and edit the story. You can use your iPhone. Maybe your friend has a nice camera. Maybe you have a nice camera. Maybe you know people with lights and sound systems. I don't know. But at a bare minimum, take your camera phone, your smartphone, you kids and your computer phones, take your smartphone and record, and then on your laptop here, edit the story. Finally, you're going to upload that puppy to a Google folder. Then email the link to that folder to me. I can be reached at jgillette@fullsail.com. Step 6 is repeat. To earn a star for your portfolio project, and by the way, to earn a very nice video clip of you delivering news in a video format, you will need to do this 5 times. Before you graduate, maybe doing a story a month for the next 5 months, or maybe doing one a week for a shorter period of time, you will do 5 of these stories, and when you reach your 5th, you will be granted your star for your portfolio. And more than that, I'm just guessing, I can't promise this, but what's probably going to happen is your peers are going to pick you up on their shoulders and carry you around Full Sail, chanting your name and throwing parties in your honor. So I don't want there to be any, I don't want you to get your hopes up that that's definitely going to happen. I can only say it's most likely going to happen. Are there any questions out there about how this might work? I'll take that moment of silence to mean I explained it incredibly well.
There is an approval, a nodding of understood. And
Oh.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I think it's just the absolute. You're just in awe that such an opportunity could be there in front of you.
Probably.
So, yeah, and they're going to be ready. By the way, these guys have been practicing a lot of stuff, so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I'm excited to see it.
At
It
least
might
in
not
this
be
GDC room.
for everybody, but it's certainly an opportunity for some people.
There you go.
All right. So let's take us away from I Can't Believe This Is Someone's Portfolio Project and Kathy's Corner and launch us into, I think, It's tool time. It is
Wow.
tool time with Pete.
We are bumped to a new time slot, Jason.
It's amazing.
I wonder if it has nothing to do with the fact that hashtag Janelle. I'm usually, we kind of feed off of her energy, so we're going to have to really ramp it up here, huh?
We are counting entirely on you, Pete. I'm going to sit back and soak it up.
Wow. Okie doke. Well, I will just go ahead and tell you when to bump us slide to slide then. Let's get this show on the road. Awesome. Well, welcome to Tool Time. And today, we're going to talk about some apps. And, we don't always talk about free stuff. We talk about stuff, though, that is free to minimal. And that's what I like to call it, free to minimal cost. And, scanner apps are becoming more popular. And so we start out by saying what I wouldn't do for a scanner right now. When you have that thing that you need to do and scan and send off. And so go ahead and click, Jason, and let's take a look at what's going on with scanning. Scanning is like everywhere, right? So this guy in the upper left who is having his body scanned at the airport. And then, of course, we know there's all kinds of MRI type of things that happen, open MRI, closed MRI. You guys realize you're getting your body scanned at that moment. And when I go ahead and deposit a check, and nobody take a screenshot, you won't be able to zoom in. That is not a real check from me. So you will not be able to get any information. It's John Doe's check. But we're depositing checks, and really that's what's happening. There's a built-in scanner feature that's actually just taking a photo or an image of the check. And then, of course, kids will be kids. People do put their faces on flatbed scanners and scan themselves and as a joke, just like they used to do with copy machines. So scanning is sort of everywhere, but we're talking about document scanning today. So let's go ahead and flip ahead to our next slide. And I want to talk about the top 5 scanner apps that you can use for your smartphone. Now, before we move ahead here, what are we using this for? Well, you'd be surprised, especially our MCBS students, as documents need to either be stored or as you need to get information to people. And, for example, it may be some sort of application process. It may be some scanned piece of work that you need to send ahead. And you really don't want to just send a JPEG. You want a scan that creates a high resolution image, and yet also one that maybe character recognition is important. You scan something and send it in a collaborative process to someone else, and then they'll go ahead and if they need to later, they can actually bring that back down to regular text and do some editing. Who knows? It could be later on when you go for I remember I've sent documents that need to go to a lawyer or go somewhere to a government agency, and so you just need to scan them and get them off. It's the quickest way from your phone to do so. It's maybe a hard copy of something that is not in electronic form. So that's what we're talking about. So let's go ahead and move ahead and see who does this pretty well. And at the outset, I want to say that if you can't find this on the Mac and the Android store, there are alternatives to it. If you just hit that store and you'll see it. So, and I'm noticing we have something down here. Oh no, that's okay. Everything's fine. I was reading something that was in the chat. Insta PDF is the first one. And we all know that a PDF is a portable document file. And if you need to have that on your Mac, let's say, or your iPhone, you can go ahead and scan from your phone, and then it automatically goes to the app that is, there's 2 apps. There's one that's stored on your Mac and one on your iPhone. And so this stuff will automatically appear in both, just in case you need to get something to your Mac really quick. So it's very useful. There are obviously 2 apps, and if you need to have PDFs available both on the Mac and the iPhone, it's great for that. Travels over Wi-Fi very quickly. And $2.99, not too bad. So let's bump to our next one, which is one that I use. It is more costly, but it does more, at least for what I need. It's a whole $6.99. Look out. Shake that piggy bank and get every last quarter out of there, because this is worth it. really what it does is Scanner Pro has a great interface. It supports a variety of document formats, which I like. But as you can see, it connects to WebDAV and Dropbox, Evernote, to a whole bunch of places. But basically, it's great because I can store this stuff in the cloud, and sometimes I need to do just that. The scanner itself is very fast, and it cleans up text very well. I also like to use character recognition, and so just in case I need to take an old document and turn it into a live sort of Word document and do some editing. So it does all of this very, very well, very easily, and as I say, it can upload to Evernote, Google Docs, and all those great places, to name a few. $6.99, so Scanner Pro is another one. So now we're going to head to the third one, which is Genius Scan. And Genius Scan is great because it has excellent character recognition, supports both images and documents as well. And you can add multiple pages to these things as you're going along and create one big document. It supports Wi-Fi and outputs, of course, also to Evernote and Expensify and outlets like that, Google Docs. The only thing is it doesn't do color very well. So, if you've got to do highly critical color stuff, Genius Scan Plus may not be the one for you, but it does do character recognition really well. And if you want Wi-Fi transfer and Expensify support, there you have it for $2.99. The next one that we're going to look at here is TurboScan. TurboScan offers good performance and really good quality images. It basically allows you to take 3 images of something, and then you pick the best one that you have. So you don't have to keep retaking, rescanning. So there's a Sure Scan button, as you can see that in the middle image. Sure Scan is kind of the way that it allows you to get the best of the best scan possible. Good performance. If your scanning accuracy needs you to be crisp and clear, $1.99 gets you TurboScan. And our last one coming up is DocScan Pro. DocScan Pro is good for scanning books. Some students may actually want to be scanning parts of a textbook. Maybe you didn't have that book from Creative Edge, and you really want to take a picture of that page because there's some images on it. You want to take that to class. You want to get it over to your computer and be able to do some things with it in editing. DocScan Pro is good for scanning books and creating anchors where there's page curves. You do know that when you're scanning a page and it's curving, that's the way it's going to look on your document that you scan. So this just deals with that very well. So if you plan on scanning a lot of pages out of books, $1.99 DocScan Pro is the one for you. So those are our top 5 of scanning apps for your phone. And until next time, we wish you happy scanning. There you go.
Hey, Pete, I know some other people might have questions about that, but the one I was most curious about was the app right before the last one. I think it was the 4th one. Right. If you've got 3, it does it 3 times. It takes the image 3 times. Do you know if it melds the 3 or chooses the best of the 3?
From what I understand, and I don't use Genius Scan Plus, but I'm sorry, TurboScan, but I think you just pick the best one out of each, and so that one is sort of the way that it works. I don't think it layers all 3. I could be wrong, but from what I understood from what I read about it, haven't downloaded it, but it sounds like you just take the best one out of it.
Okay. It was just
I'd like to thank...
Very cool.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'd like to thank Julian for saying nice golden ratio, Pete. Golden ratio is something we're studying in GDC, so these guys are picking it off. See, it's there in my slide. So, way to go, Julian. Great. And is that Juliana saying that? Why is it Julian? She's throwing me off. There is a Julian in another class, I think, so this is crazy. She's messing with me. See these guys? Keeping me on my toes. Juliana, I'm going to actually give you extra credit, but I'm taking 2 points off for spelling your name wrong. Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely a GPS point deduction for that Julian kid.
and 2-point increase for messing with the course director. Way to go.
Well, Pete, we appreciate the check-in, and we appreciate your golden whatever. What was it called?
Golden section.
All right, golden. I obviously need to take Pete's class. But good job on that and all the others. And
Yep.
folks, I don't know how it happened, but we have reached the end of yet another episode of the MCBS Hour. So we really enjoyed having everybody here. It was a spectacular week. And as always, we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. when there's no telling what's going to happen. Will we be with the Real Rob crew, or will we be scattered like leaves in the wind? Who knows? We will know by next Wednesday, and we look forward to seeing you guys then. Peace
And
out.
as Janelle said, boom, right?
Exactly.
Good, Isabel. Yeah.
See, I'm learning.
We're out.